evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now. I am Heena Gambhir. At 8 p.m., our focus is latest flashpoint between Tamil Nadu government and the governor of Tamil Nadu. The Tamil Nadu Assembly has adopted a bill that empowers state government to appoint vice chancellors to various universities in the state. Now, this is being seen as an attempt to clip the powers of the governor of Tamil Nadu by the state government, by Stalin government. BJP opposed the bill in the assembly while AIADMK staged a walkout. To seek support, Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, MK Stalin, said even in Gujarat, the home state of Prime Minister Modi, Vice Chancellors are appointed by the state. So if this bill gets assent, then Tamil Nadu government, instead of the governor, will appoint Vice Chancellors of 13 universities in the entire state. The current process of appointing Vice Chancellors across universities in India has seen delays, scandals and controversies. The issue of Vice Chancellor appointment in Tamil Nadu has been a rather ticklish one. In 2017, when the centre-state tussle wasn't as bitter, Tamil Nadu witnessed a big storm over allegations of corruption in Vice Chancellor's appointment. Politicians, academicians had expressed concern over the inordinate delay in appointing VCs to universities in the state. And Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, MK Stalin, now says that lack of power to appoint VCs impacts higher education and is against the principles of democracy. So is this just about improving the state of higher education? Or via this, Stalin government is opening another front against the centre? Or is it yet another crack in India's federal wall? Or is it time to rethink how we appoint vice chancellors in universities across India? Let's try and get answers as far as these important questions are concerned. Joining us on the broadcast is A. Sarvanan, spokesperson of the DMK, S.G. Surya, spokesperson of the BJP, Dr. Narayan Lakshman, associate editor, The Hindu, is going to be joining us. Feroz Bakht Ahmed, former Chancellor, Maulana Azad National Urdu University, also live with us on the broadcast this evening. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now this evening. I want to begin the discussion with Feroz Bakht Ahmed. How will you like to respond to this new development that has taken place in the state of Tamil Nadu? How do you see Stalin government adopting this bill? Of course, there's a lot that this bill needs to cross before it is implemented. It needs the assent of the governor. It needs the assent of the president as well. But how do you see the intention here?
Well, Frida, let me tell you one thing. What Stalin is doing is just, he's playing with the hornet's nest. And the tradition of appointing chancellors had been quite, I think, since 1947, the way, and even before that, the way the chancellors have been appointed, or vice chancellors have been appointed, I think that has been in line with the system. And this new experiment, which the state of Tamil Nadu is going to, in fact, do, I think it would be damn squib. It might, I can't understand why is the need to do that, first thing. Second thing is that so far as the vice chancellors are concerned, in fact, not only the governor, in fact, the prime minister and even the president has a say in that, right? Any new vice chancellor, or even for that matter of fact, if a chancellor is appointed to a new university, it is well in the know-how of the prime minister as well as the president. However, I cannot understand why this task is being done, because if this is done in the state of Tamil Nadu, this way, the vice chancellor.
Right. I think that's a poor connection out there. We'll try and reconnect with Feroz Bakht Ahmed, former Chancellor Maulana Azad National Urdu University, in just a bit. Let me also get a reaction from A. Sarvanan, spokesperson of the DMK. What is really the intention here? Because questions are being raised, and in the assembly as well, we saw BJP opposing it, AIADMK staging a walkout. Is this another front that DMK government is opening against the centre? Is that a direct message to the centre?
No, Heena. The Chief Minister of our state, Mr. MK Stalin, while speaking on this bill, has made it very clear that when the state universities, which are being funded by the state funds, the state governments should have the right to appoint vice chancellors. See, earlier the situation was like this. Even though the governor was the chancellor, what happened was there was a search committee, and the recommendations of the search committee was followed by the governor. But in the last 4 years, the AIADMK government has totally surrendered this solemn right to the governor appointed by the BJP. And the the governors there, they have been picking and choosing people who don't have any connection with the state. We are talking about decentralizing education. We are talking about decentralizing everything. And here we have someone who does not have any connection. He does not know ABCD of the state of Tamil Nadu. He comes and becomes a vice chancellor here, and what contribution he can make to the state. This is one thing. Yet another important aspect would be in the other states like West Bengal, Karnataka, Telangana, Gujarat, in all other places, and I think in Telangana also, the state government has the power to appoint the vice chancellors. That power has been taken away from the governor. This is one thing. Yet another aspect is the professor who were talking earlier was saying this is from the pre-colonial times. Yes, it was there in the pre-colonial times when the governor general appointed by the British India appointed vice chancellors in Calcutta University, Madras University, and other universities with the British system of chancellor, vice chancellor, and the Senate. We followed that. When the state universities started coming up, they followed this accidentally. I don't know. I think someone accidentally cut, copy, paste that provision of appointment of a chancellor, the governor being the chancellor.
Right.
So far, no problem at all. But right now, it is being misused. There is rank misuse and abuse of this provision. That is why we say put an end to it. If it is a state-funded university, the state government will have the right to appoint the vice chancellor. Nobody else can claim that. The governor cannot come here and play politics and say, I will appoint somebody else from another state who does not have any connection with the state. That is the message here.
Okay. Interesting point. I'll get Feroz Bakht Ahmed to respond to what you've said. But before that, let me also take the opening comments from my other guest, SG Surya. Now, the argument we also heard from Mr. MK Stalin was that if in Gujarat, the state government appoints the vice chancellor, then why should BJP have a problem in the state of Tamil Nadu?
Absolutely.
See, there are two things to the issue. First, Mr. Stalin today in the assembly quotes about the Mohan Panchi committee that recommended decentralization of power to the states. My question is, the committee's report was out in the year 2010 first half. At the same time, the DMK was ruling in Tamil Nadu. It did not bother to seek these things when they were in power in the state and also in the center during the previous rule. That is because they had a friendly government in the center. Therefore, they also had a friendly governor who could sign whatever was sent to them. But today, their nefarious intentions are not going through, and the governor is not just signing whatever the state government is asking for. That is their problem. They do not have a friendly governor to nod head for all their wishes, and that is why they are opposing now. That is a very simple and plain truth. Secondly, we need to look at the precedents of the vice chancellor appointments by the government that happened in 2006 to 2011. Politicians were appointed as vice chancellors in the previous DMK rule. Those politicians today are under scanner for various investigations and fraudulent corrupt activities. So this is what they want to do by appointing their people, their politicians who are into politics as vice chancellors. The quality of the universities came down very badly during the previous DMK rule. Assistants of ministers, relatives of DMK ministers, friends of DMK ministers were appointed as vice chancellors in the previous rule. Today, you cannot do that. You need meritorious candidates to become vice chancellors because of the strict monitoring by the governor, and that is their problem. They want to appoint their politicians, their friends, their assistants, and all their people who will support them in different way to the positions of vice chancellors. And that is why they are opposing. If they really have concerns, they should name the vice chancellors who are appointed in the last 7 years with questionable credentials. They cannot name anybody.
Yes.
They cling on to one name that is from outside the state. They should list out the names of vice chancellors.
Surya, we have seen similar sort of a tussle on VC appointment in the past as well. Saravanan wants to respond quickly, very quickly. Please respond. How can we forget about the appointment of MK Surappa as the Vice Chancellor of Anna University by the then governor when AIADMK was in power? And what happened after that?
Absolutely, Hina, you're right. He was the most controversial figure who scrapped, just because he does not want to follow a particular reservation policy, he scrapped a course, putting students to distress. We filed the case and we reinstalled the course. That is how worse they were performing. And when we were talking about in the Gujarat, the chancellors in Gujarat were arrested for indulging in corruption. Mr. Parimal Trivedi and one more person, and K.S. Shastri. And Mr. Punchi Commission report came in 2010. When we were in the center, we ensured that the central government...
No, this is not the discussion.
No.
The discussion is...
Sir, you keep quiet. You were not, I did not interfere when you were talking. No, sir, if you're not going to allow me to talk, I will not allow you to talk.
One at a time,
I will not allow you to talk.
Saravanan.
I will speak. I will finish this.
Okay, Saravanan, 10 seconds. Please finish your point. I will go to Dr. Narayan Lakshman as well. Quickly finish your point, please.
Yes. Quickly, yes. So these allegations of corruption and nepotism is there in Gujarat also. So lest Mr. Surya does not come and quote scriptures here. So that is not the issue. The issue is whether the state government has the power. The governor appointing authority has dismantled the entire structure. We want education. We have been the successful model, the top 100 colleges. The
so
most
is
number
it
of
time to
colleges
rethink how Vice Chancellor in state-funded universities are appointed? So that's an important question. We'll try and address that too as well over the next few minutes. But before that, Dr. Narayan Lakshman, how do you see this development in the state of Tamil Nadu? Because we know things are not fine between the Stalin government and the governor of Tamil Nadu. Is this another crack in India's federal wall? Is this another attempt by Stalin government to send a message to the center? Or do you think the idea really is to improve the process of appointing vice chancellors?
Because honestly, there is, as you correctly said, a lot of tension already between the administration of Tamil Nadu under the DMK and the role of the central government in the broader context of center-state relations. You talk about the NEET bill, you talk about tussles over education in a different context. I think the fact to remember is that education has been on the concurrent list since 1976. And when it comes to issues such as appointment of the vice chancellors, it is an extremely sensitive and local issue. Now, that's not to say that a governor need not give inputs. They can possibly give inputs, but it's similar process to what happens with the bill. So what happened with NEET is the government here has sent it to the governor for approval and for presidential assent, not once, but twice, and yet there's been delay. So the constitutional propriety deems that you can give an input, but for a remote authority from New Delhi via the president's office to take a call on something so local as a vice chancellor appointment in a state, it calls for rejigging of the entire logic of why that law exists and to reform it. I'm not at all saying that there is no corruption everywhere. There is, that is across states. But at the same time, whether you look at Telangana, West Bengal, Kerala, and certainly Gujarat, even in the year 2021 and 22, there have been numerous tussles and lots of appointments have been either held up or the state governments in all of these states, including Gujarat, have taken power into their own hands and made the appointments. So this is part of a very vibrant discussion on center-state relations. And I think it is important to have it. I don't think I agree at all with Mr. Surya's comments that because it came in 2010, now you should be quiet and just allow the center to steamroll the interests of a very local issue. I think this is a very healthy debate and I think it should lead to some reform.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it should lead to some sort of reform. Firoz Bakht Ahmed, as Mr. Sarvanan was mentioning earlier, that it's a state-funded university. Why shouldn't the state be allowed to pick the Vice-Chancellor that it wants? How will you like to respond to this argument? And also, tomorrow, if each political party, whichever is in power, gets to choose the vice chancellor of a particular university, won't this also allow the political party in power to spread the ideology in young minds and the curriculum that it wants to? Is that what we want?
Am I audible to you, Farida?
Yes. Sir, this is Heena Gambhir.
Yes, you see. Okay, sorry, Hina, yes. Hina, you see, I'll make three very short points. First point is that systems like education and sports, these form the backbone of any country's education system plus sports system. I mean, this goes without saying. Second thing is, Mr. Sarvanan, I appreciate his points, but let me tell him that what Mr. Suryan was saying, I believe that whatever he actually said was bang on target, and I am wholeheartedly whatever he has said, because there should not be an issue between the governor, between the chief minister, as we have been seeing between the governor of Kerala and the chief minister, Mr. Pinarayi. Now, you know, they are not, as far as education is concerned, today itself in the Hindu newspaper, there was one news item where the governor, Mr. Arif Mohammad Khani, felt that the chief minister was unnecessarily meddling into the system of education of Kerala. This should not be allowed. And having seen the example of Kerala, having seen the example of Telangana, where I was a chancellor myself from 2018 to 2021, I believe, if we want that the student community should not be,
harried and worried, then I think Tamil Nadu government should not disturb the system, right? He's not like Galileo to say, okay, people were believing that the earth goes round the moon. So he found out something. But this is not like Galileo. He's disturbing. Mr. Stalin is just trying to disturb the entire scenario, peaceful scenario of education in his state. I mean, it makes no point if he gives the example of Gujarat or maybe certain other states. Main thing is that it is a very crucial thing.
No, but the question then again is that if he is in fact giving the example of a state like Gujarat, then every other state can also tomorrow, get up and say that if in Gujarat it is allowed, then why is it not allowed in Tamil Nadu? Why is it not allowed in any other state?
Gujarat is an exception.
See,
Gujarat is an exception.
I think this comparison is very absurd because in Gujarat it is prevalent for so many years. It is not today. It is not yesterday. They have got the special provision and they are appointing the Vice Chancellor. Even in Gujarat,
Gujarat is an exception.
No, it's not.
A. Sarvanan wants to respond to the comment you've made, S.G. Surya and Firoz Bakht Ahmed. Yes, Mr. Sarvanan.
Yeah, I'm coming. See, the issue is this. The problem is the problem is this.
One at a time. Yes. Sarvanan, 1 second. Yes. I think Surya wants to finish his point. Sarvanan, 1 second. Surya, quickly finish your point, then I'll get Sarvanan to respond.
In Gujarat, even today, the chancellors are only the governors, but the appointment is vested with the state government. But it is not a recently acquired right. It is there since the independence. It is not something new. If you want to compare with Gujarat, then
that is exactly what Mr. MK Stalin had said while he was seeking support on this particular bill. That if in Gujarat it's in place since 1948, then why can't the same thing happen in the state of Tamil Nadu?
But what is your precedent? During your previous rule, you have appointed the translator of your leader's book as a vice chancellor. You have appointed your family doctor as a vice chancellor. You have appointed your ministers' assistants, ministers' relatives as your vice chancellors. Where is the probity? There are so many vice chancellors in Tamil Nadu today.
So, Sarvanan, the people who were deserving were not appointed, but actually the relatives of the government in power were appointed as vice chancellors. That's the argument. Please respond, Sarvanan.
Yeah. See, first I want to come to two things. The question is not who is getting to be appointed as vice chancellors. These people are not. They have no authority to question if somebody is unfit to be a vice chancellor. What they should do is they should file a quo warranto in the court and say this guy is unfit. We are talking about the process of the appointment here. We are not talking about the individual merit. Then we can say, Mr. Surappa, there was an inquiry commissioned by the AIADMK government. BJP and the AIADMK were pali, but still it happened. So this kind of, as pointed out by Mr. Narayan Lakshman, these kind of things do happen. That is not the justification. If it can happen in Gujarat from 1949, why can't it happen in the state of Tamil Nadu in 2022? That is the question we are asking. And we are talking about, see, there are two things. One is when we appoint the governor as the chancellor and give him the appointing authority, that power is given to him by virtue of a state statute. It is not a constitutional mandate. If it is a constitutional mandate, the governor is just a rubber stamp. He is just a postman. He has to just nod his head to whatever the Council of Ministers say and the Assembly sends. Since this power is given to the governor by the state government, by the enactment of a state legislature, we have the power. We can decide what to do. Nobody can question us. It is the state government's fund which is spent here.
Okay.
You are misinterpreting,
okay.
sir.
Feroz
What do you
Bakht
know?
Ahmed wants to
I know
respond.
better than you. I know better
Feroz
than you.
Bakht Ahmed wants to respond, then SG Suraya, then Dr. Narayan Lakshman.
Let me tell you
Okay, one at a time, gentlemen, one at a time. Sarvanan, you've made a few points. Let Feroz Bakht Ahmed respond to what you've said. 1 second. Yes.
Heena, I do appreciate the concern of my DMK friend, Mr.
Surya, I'll come to you
Sarvanan,
in just a bit. Let Mr. Ahmed respond first.
But the main problem is, Surya ji, just a minute. But the main, I have been through this system,
I have been through this system through and through for the last 3 years. That is from 2018 to 2021. I know where are the loopholes. Now, the mistake that Mr. Stalin is going to make, only time will tell that he will suffer a lot on account of this. And not only that, the system of education will suffer. The teachers there will suffer, the students there will suffer, the staff will suffer. The staff will suffer because this is not the way.
Without knowing the state of Tamil Nadu, have you ever been to a university in the state of Tamil Nadu?
No.
Have you ever been to a university in the state of Tamil Nadu? No.
You are changing the
100 universities. In the top 100 universities,
if your chief minister,
you know how many universities are there from the state of Tamil Nadu?
Let me complete.
How many colleges?
My point.
No, do you know about the state of Tamil
Okay,
Nadu?
Sarvanan, 1 second. Let him at least complete his point. You will get time to respond. Sarvanan, let him finish what he is saying. I will give you time to respond as well. Yes.
Sarvanan, just let me complete. What I am saying is, if you are so adamant, obviously you will have to speak for your chief minister. Fine, you are doing the right thing. But let me tell you, if it
whom are you speaking for, sir? Whom are you speaking for?
I am speaking to you. I am speaking.
Come on, let's have a civil debate, gentlemen, please. Sarvanan, I told you I will give you time to respond.
State of Tamil Nadu.
1 second, Sarvanan, 1 second. Let him complete his point. I will come back to you.
Your system will actually totally fail, and you will make this education system like a bottomless hell in Tamil Nadu if you go according to what Mr.
Why do you
Stalin
say
said.
that? Mr. Feroz Bakht Ahmed, why do you say that? Why do you think that entire system of education in the state of Tamil Nadu is going to suffer? What is the reason that you are saying this?
Heena, see, what Mr. Stalin is trying to do is, he is trying to put the cart before the horse, right? The way he is trying to initiate this change, I think this will not work this way, right? The chief ministers have a lot of power, and they misuse their power.
Heena, can I just for 10 seconds?
That they indulge in nepotism. They in fact indulge in illegal appointments, and let me tell you, there is also the system has been so rotten in my own university, Maulana.
But the allegation from the government side is that it is happening currently, and that's the reason the state government wants to bring in a change. Dr. Narayan Lakshman also wanted to come in.
Complaints of illegal appointments.
Sarvanan, 1 second. Sarvanan, 1 second. 1 second, Sarvanan. Dr. Narayan Lakshman first. Sarvanan, 1 second. Let Dr. Narayan Lakshman respond. Dr. Narayan Lakshman. Because
Yeah,
I've not been
yeah,
able to understand why Mr. Feroz Bakht Ahmed says that this entire system is going to fail. Because right now also, if you hear the arguments of Mr. MK Stalin, they also in a way seem to suggest that, the current way of appointments is also appearing as if the governor is favoring some, specific set of people, and people who are eligible are not getting the chance. And that's the reason why this kind of a reform is the need of the hour.
Yeah, Heena, I just want to say a couple of things. One is that there is no guarantee that having a governor as the person mandating this is going to lead to better quality appointments. I agree with Saravanan that you can't get into the merits, of particular candidates, and there's no point throwing names around here. But let's even take as a premise that we need to improve the quality of university education across the country. What is the best model for that? Now, that is a worthwhile debate to have. It may involve working with the private sector. It may involve collaborations with others. It may involve independent panels who work with state governments or with the appointees of state governments to improve the quality of appointments. Now, that is quite a different thing from saying that a governor, a constitutional authority based on a very historical law, is the right authority to do so. The governor represents the president's authority in the state. And the president, of course, also has a link politically and constitutionally to the central government. So the question is, should a central government-related authority be mandating something so local and regional as a vice-chancellor appointment for a state university? I think simple logic tells you that that cannot be the case. And let me take one more point, Heena, if I may. I think the broader debate here is getting lost. The broader debate here is that center-state relations are being defined and redefined every day in India today. The BJP is expanding its footprint across northern India and some other states. The South and West Bengal and the Punjab and a few others are proving resistant to the influence of the BJP. The BJP is not shy of leaning upon federal institutions to press forward its own agenda. Therefore, under the Constitution, this is a good debate to have if it leads to reform. If it leads to...
Your point is fine.
That's
logical, but
yes.
You are trying to politicize.
Can I come in?
No, sir.
That is the reason, Dr. Narayan Lakshman, when I started this debate, I asked this question, is it yet another crack in India's federal wall? Or is the idea to really revamp the higher education, the process of higher education in the country, in the state of Tamil Nadu specifically? Yes, Mr. Saravanan, now please respond and let Mr. Surya.
I haven't responded to the previous round.
Heena, what the thing is this. The thing is this. See,
Okay.
Mr.
One
the
at
thing
a time.
is this. Yes. Yeah, the thing is this. It is a very, very pertinent question. This is a debate on the federal structure of our constitution, which we will not allow. DMK as a party stands for the right of the state, for the autonomy of the state. So this is again impinging on the autonomy of the state. And the Vice-Chancellor, the ex-Chancellor sitting here is making dire predictions without knowing what is happening in the state of Tamil Nadu. I asked him to come and visit in the top 100 universities. Allow me to, sir. Let me finish. Let me finish, sir. Let me finish. I know. Yes, I know, sir. Let me finish. In the top 100 universities, top 100 universities. I know what you're missing. Listen to me.
Okay, gentlemen, both of you, please calm down. Saravanan, I think you've made your point.
I have to respond to that.
Please go ahead now.
Firstly, I
top 100 universities. In the top 100 universities.
Okay, very quickly. I don't have too much of time left on the show.
No, that's what I'll finish this. In the top 100 universities, more number of universities in the state of Tamil Nadu finds a place. In the top 100 colleges in the state of India, in the country of India, colleges from the state of Tamil Nadu finds a big place, huge number of places. This shows how robust our education system is. Mr. Feroz B. Ahmed, come here, have a look, then make your dire predictions. Without knowing anything on the ground, don't say anything.
Okay. Now the spokesperson, BJP spokesperson, LG Surya, please let him respond. Let him respond now.
Let me respond, sir. Please, sir. So firstly, I object when Mr. Saravanan says governor should be a rubber stamp. He should act as a rubber stamp.
In the constitutional scheme of things, he is a rubber stamp.
Will you please shut up and let others
I won't shut up.
I think
when you contradict me, I won't. I cannot shut up.
No,
let's have a civil debate, gentlemen. It's a request. Let's have a civil debate. Sarvanan, Mr. Surya did not interrupt while you were speaking, so let him finish his point, please. Yes, Surya, go ahead.
The problem with DMK, they cannot take any suggestions, any arguments. See, when they say those words, I think they are disrespecting Dr. Ambedkar, who had drafted the constitution. I take severe objections to that. Secondly, the appointments of vice chancellors in the previous years. Surappa was appointed in the year 2017. I want to listen the names which were objectionable to the state or the state governments. Even after the current governor came into position, there were a number of vice chancellor appointments. I have not seen any controversy in any of the appointments. I don't think where is the entire debate rising from. And finally, Mr. Saravanan says there are so many top universities and colleges in Tamil Nadu. It is true, but 90% of them are private universities and private colleges where the state government has absolutely no say. How many state government universities and colleges are ranked in the top? That shows your inability, incompetence.
Lot of colleges. Don't come and blabber something here.
Okay.
Tamil Nadu is a heaven for education.
I want to give the last word now to Dr. Narayan Lakshman.
Please list out the colleges.
Okay, gentlemen, both of you now, please calm down. Please calm down now. I want to give the last word to Dr. Narayan Lakshman. I have very little time left on this particular debate. Dr. Lakshman, like I was asking earlier also, if, this bill is cleared, and if indeed in Tamil Nadu, the state government gets this authority to appoint the Vice Chancellor of a university, then if each party gets to appoint a Vice Chancellor, how will it be for the education in the state of Tamil Nadu? Will, the party not also get the opportunity to spread the ideology in young minds and the curriculum as it likes? Do you think that's going to be the right approach, even if we want a reform in this particular process?
No, nepotism, bhai bhatijawad.
I think my name is Dr. Narayan Lakshman, sir, not yours.
Dr. Narayan Lakshman.
Thank you. No, I was going to say, Heena, that look, I don't think in a country like India, you can run away from ideology. And I don't think ideology is a bad word. I do have a problem with rewriting history, writing facts out of textbooks. But if you look at what's happening in certain North Indian states, you do find that there is a different kind of ideology, some point to the saffron ideology, where textbooks are being rewritten in extremely vicious ways. So I don't think whichever state you're talking about, or even if you're talking about a constitutional person such as a governor having a role, they're going to be ideology. Excuse me, sir, stop heckling me. Stop heckling me. Stop heckling me. It's beneath your office. Please don't heckle. So I think we should not treat ideology as a bad word, but at the same time, I think what you're referring to is that in terms of quality of education, which can be objectively assessed by the PISA ranking, for example, which is a global standard, you can go to any state and look at how the graduates at university perform. We should have that kind of metric universalized across the country. But within this framework, you cannot put shackles on any state to say that everything has to be centrally mandated, because indeed, there is no guarantee that that will be ideology free. So this is the tussle that we're facing.
That's why our IITs are concerned, the world's best institutions, right? Because center manages all this.
No, this is false.
No, it's not because of center manages it.
No, you have been making comments this without backing anything up. Mr. Ahmed, you've only been making comments without backing a single thing up.
All right, gentlemen, I'm now completely out of time, but what you've said is quite interesting and important, Dr. Narayan Lakshman. I'll leave it there. I appreciate all of you. Thank you very much for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now this evening. We'll, of course, be tracking the story closely ahead as well.